Hello, hello. Welcome to the 30th episode of the Veggies Abroad Vegan Travel Podcast with the Chief Veggie Pusher, myself, Rebecca Gady-Sawicki. Some of you may already be familiar with Veggies Abroad, but for those of you who aren't, we're a full-service vegan travel company that offers custom planning services, small group trips, a helpful blog chock full of just about everything a vegan or veg-curious traveler could need to plan an adventure, and this podcast. With this podcast, I hope to bring you guys the inside scoop of what vegan-friendly, and eco-friendly businesses are doing in the wide world of travel. This episode marks exactly 1 whole year for this podcast. I think I've joked about this before, but in all seriousness, this is kind of a fantastic milestone. Approximately 90% of new podcasts don't make it to the 1 year mark. There were plenty of times, if I'm being honest, that I thought, what in the world did I get myself into? But I am still here plugging away. And I have to say, a lot of it has to do with some of the support that I have behind the scenes. I have mentioned him before, but Jim from over at the Bloody Vegans production team has managed all of the editing, and he does all of the behind the scenes for this podcast. Without him, this podcast would not exist. I would have quit after 1 episode. So big thanks to Jim. And in addition to the 1 year mark, it's also Veganuary. For those unfamiliar with this festive month, it's a movement to adopt a vegan lifestyle for the full month. The organization started in the UK and offers a ton of support. So if you haven't jumped on the vegan bandwagon, I'd encourage you to check it out. And if you need a little support, obviously you've got them, but you've also got me. So please always feel free to reach out. I love hearing from listeners. Since we're officially kicking off the new year, it only seems fitting to talk about travel plans, right? One of the most frequent questions I get is, what are the best places for vegans to go for a full-on foodie adventure? It's a really good question. And you'll also be happy to know that I think every year the list grows. But before we jump into that, I have a couple of trip updates that I want to share. If you were bummed because you missed your chance to go to Thailand later this year because the trip sold out more than a year in advance, you will be happy to know that I'm adding a second departure for this trip. It will be at the beginning of December 2025, so later this year. And if you want to be the first to know about it, make sure you're on our newsletter, or you can send me an email and I'll make sure you're on there as well, or on our wait list. Our Iceland trip is also now sold out, but our Portugal trip, which is in October, still has space. And Portugal features one of the most vegan-friendly cities, according to Happy Cow, so that's a pretty cool bonus. I have been asked about 2026 trips, and all I can say is I am working on it. I'm still making my way through 2025, or wrapping my brain around the fact that we're in 2025. Again, join the newsletter to make sure that you're the first to know what's in store for what will come up beyond this year. All right. So let's get back on track with the best vegan-friendly places you might want to consider visiting this year. And joining me to talk all about it is my travel and veggie partner, Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hello, Rebecca. And can I say congratulations on 1 year and 30 episodes. That's so awesome.
Thank you very, very much. Very kind of you to say. So, vegan-friendly cities. Happy Cow, we both took a look at it, released its list, and it was a pretty well thought out list. They went into quite a bit of detail to figure out which cities are the most vegan-friendly, and it features a lot of vegan-friendly and very familiar heavyweights: London, Berlin, LA, Portland, Lisbon, Barcelona, Amsterdam, Mexico City, New York City, and Ho Chi Minh rounds out the list. I think I was only a little surprised by Ho Chi Minh, and that is because of the growth and options it's had in just 1 year. Happy Cow said that based on just last year, the number of spots increased by 33%, which is amazing. So there are 230 fully vegan spots in the city, which honestly is amazing. Sometimes when I go places and I'm like, oh my God, there's 10 places. That's crazy. But 230, like, nice job, Ho Chi Minh. Like, I think we need to have some kind of special celebration for you. And it's also the first time that Mexico City has graced the list. And Mexico City has quite a food scene. So it's kind of not a surprise, but also very exciting for them to be joining those powerhouses. It is also cool to see that some cities have remained on this list because I think we've all heard about the many restaurant closures that have happened around the world, and cities like LA and Portland and Berlin and Amsterdam have suffered immensely, but they're still in the running and they haven't lost their crowns, which is fantastic. And hopefully they continue to, build back and add more places and become stronger like they were at different times of the years, or in the past, I guess is the appropriate way to say. What did you think about the list?
I thought the list was pretty spot on. I mean, I think that there's so many different places. I was definitely surprised by Ho Chi Minh. I definitely love London. I think you would say that out of many of the cities you've been to, London is one of the best. I've heard you talk about that many times before. The list is pretty robust, but do you feel like most of the places on that list you've always thought of being on that list besides Ho Chi Minh?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're all pretty high on my list of like recommendations, all of them, except I'd say actually Mexico City last year was kind of the first time that I had really recommended that and gone into a bit of a deeper food dive. And I wouldn't have ever thought to really recommend Ho Chi Minh for food. So those are the only two that I thought, whoa, all right, we're adding something new here. But all of the rest of them, I have actively sent people to specifically for the food. And you're right about London. London is one of the top cities that I consistently recommend when people are like, I just want to eat myself until I'm blue in the face. London is a great place for that. New York City, LA are also really great for that as well too. Yeah.
The other thing I wonder is like, what's their criteria on that list? Are they basing it just off food, or are they like food, things to do, things to see? Is it all of those things, or is it just the food?
Well, their article outlines how they determined the list. And so the list was determined by the number of fully vegan restaurants within the city, the number of fully vegan businesses, which includes shops, bakeries, cafes, B&Bs, and the number of all types of businesses that are vegan, vegetarian, and vegan friendly that are listed on Happy Cow. Additionally, they assessed this is pretty crazy. Like, this is why I was like, they really went into some detail here. The density of vegan businesses per capita, the density of vegan businesses per square mile, the growth of vegan businesses since their last report, and then a qualitative evaluation from Team Cow, such as how easy it is to find vegan options, how well veganism is understood, and how active the vegan community is, among other factors. I think that how well veganism is understood is kind of an interesting one to try and assess, because that can be wildly different from place to place. But they definitely, like, this wasn't their thinking like, oh, I feel like this place is good, let's add it to the list kind of assessment.
So on the last one, how do they send out surveys, or is it based on user comments when they're trying to assess like how they understand vegan, I guess?
I don't know how they would assess how well veganism is understood. I'm going to assume that they do it based on their ambassadors that are in each city. So they have people that are on the ground that provide support for events and keeping things up to date and staying in touch and all of that. So I'm going to assume that they probably leaned on local support to be able to figure out some of those more, qualitative, non-data driven figures.
It's a very robust list, and I'm wondering, like, now knowing like all that went into it and all the data that they have, do you think that they publish their data somewhere, or is it probably like trade secret house stuff kind of thing?
Have you never been on Happy Cow before in your life, or what?
No, I have, totally.
So if you go on to Happy Cow, the number of things is listed generally in the city. So it will say the number of vegan businesses, the number of vegetarian ones, the number of vegan friendly at the top bar. I feel like now I've become like a salesperson for Happy Cow. Maybe I should send this over to them and be like, hey, do you want to like pay me?
Oh man, you might want to have that as a side gig. I don't know.
That's not a bad idea. So was there anything that surprised you on the list, or anybody that you thought shouldn't be on that list?
I guess if I'm looking at it, I mean, my list is clearly going to be different of my top 5. I think
Get
it's
into that.
subjective. Yes, it's subjective. But
yeah.
when I look at this list, we've together been to most of these places. We haven't traveled and spent time in Mexico City, so that's something I really want to do. But I mean, New York City at number 9, it just seems low to me, just based on just how many different places there are there and how great the food that we have had there was. So I don't know. And I guess I wonder about diversity of food too, because, you could go to Ho Chi Minh City, but are you going to eat like one specific kind of food that's vegan in Ho Chi Minh? You know what I mean? Like, I guess I just don't know enough about some of these places. Like, I guess that's something I'd be interested in is, I know you're using all this data that they're using all this data that they're getting from this website, but at the same time, like, is it really telling you about how diverse the food culture is there?
I think so. I don't know. Oh, now this is where I'm going to get fired from Happy Cow. That when you look at the listing, it just tells you the vegan, vegetarian, vegan friendly places. It doesn't tell you the type of food. I think I could be very, very, very wrong, and someone's probably going to send me an email if I'm wrong. So sorry. I'm just putting it out there. I could be wrong. There might be an ability to filter that by types of food, but I mean, that's a good question. For New York City, though, the city did see a decrease of 11% in the number of fully vegan listings, but it did see a 7% growth in overall vegan friendly. So I think, that probably weighs a little bit and why it's number 9. You also have to consider like the whole per capita thing. There are a ton of people in New York City, and New York City is giant. So I don't know the populations of some of the other places, but when you have to compare it from, that angle, that could change things as well too. If there are more vegan places per capita for, folks in Amsterdam versus, New York City, then that's going to edge one out over the other. They do on this list though, I'm looking at it right now, and they highlight a handful of different restaurants that you can check out in some of them. And it does look like just on the little snippet, there's a bit of a mix of places. Definitely if you go to Portland, you're going to get a very diverse mix of food from Mexican to Ethiopian to soul food and everything kind of in between. And LA, similarly, you can kind of find a diversity of all kinds of stuff. And Mexico City is kind of an interesting one. I had clients go in October, and so I did a full on research map and listing breakdown for them. And it's a lot of veganized Mexican cuisine or Latin American influenced cuisine. And that is really cool. You can get all kinds of different things that I feel like you can't necessarily get in some of these other cities. So I think that's cool on its own. Because what I don't really want to see personally is going to a city and just getting maybe just all burgers or all one thing. If they are known for something, obviously Mexico has its own cuisine, which is really amazing. Lean into that. I don't really want to go to Mexico City for pizza, if that makes sense.
No, I agree.
I feel like I've just now gone on a tangent, but I think it kind of made sense.
Okay, so this list doesn't really include the restaurants that are both vegan and omnivore.
Yes, it does. It includes the vegan friendly. I said that on the onset.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm totally off base on that. But what I wanted to ask you is, I didn't really want to ask you about vegan friendly, but what I wanted to ask you was, right now, I feel like more and more restaurants realize that serving vegans is something that they really have to do because it's a growing population, it's a growing segment, and really they're just missing an opportunity if they don't do it. So do you feel like as other restaurants grow and become more vegan friendly, do you think that that's having an effect on the solely vegan restaurant that's only catering to one type of clientele?
Oh man, you really like went down a different road with this. That's a great question. I mean, yeah, it definitely could have an effect, because if you're dining out with a mixed group of people, you might not always be able to get that mixed group of people to go to a fully vegan restaurant. And so you're going to end up at a vegan friendly place. And I think it depends on what city it is. In a city like London, you're going to have more people. So you're going to have more people that are following a flexitarian style lifestyle, or maybe they're pescatarian, but mostly plant-based, or they're vegetarian and trying to cut down. So I think there are a ton of factors that go into that. And I think running a restaurant is incredibly challenging. I think it's got to be up there on some of the most stressful jobs to ever try and take on. And I'm not going to try and venture a guess of all of the other things that you have to consider that go into it. But I do think the growth of vegan friendly stuff does, make it a little bit more challenging probably for fully vegan and vegetarian places.
Because I guess the other thing I think about that too is that if you're going to be a solely vegan restaurant, you have to be so on point all the time, to the point where it's like almost not even fair, because a restaurant that serves both vegans and omnis, like they can have a bad night, but the omnis or whoever, like people will still probably come back. Yeah. But if an omni goes with somebody to a vegan restaurant and they have a bad night, most likely that omni's gonna be like, I'm never going back to that place again.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. It is harder. I mean, like I said, it's a super challenging job in and of itself. But this is not why we are chatting. We are chatting about places that people should visit if they want to eat a ton of food. So, okay, we've talked about Happy Cow's list, which I'm in full agreement with Happy Cow. I think all of these places are fabulous, and you're not going to go wrong if you choose any of them. But we've also individually come up with our kind of top 5 of places that we think are really fabulous. And so I will, on the outset, say I did not do this with any type of data. Okay, that's kind of wrong. I mean, I did this with the data of I've been there personally. I've sent people there for the food experience. I know the food experience is diverse and really enjoyable. So I guess that's my data criteria. And you can get a diversity of options. Some of them have vegan hotels and other vegan businesses associated with them. So that's my qualification for it. And I also wanted to highlight places that people kind of maybe be surprised about or not think about naturally, because maybe they're a little bit smaller, or I don't know, they just don't come top of mind when you have to compete with the likes of Amsterdam. Was kind of part of my thinking. I will say though, I do have 2 places on here that are also on Happy Cow's list because I just couldn't get away from them, and they are really fabulous. So my first one, and I keep like adding asterisks to everything. My last asterisk is that I made a combo for each of them. So I didn't just pick one city. I know, it's sneaky and unfair. I picked 2 cities in that country or in that area, so that then you kind of like got a double header of vegan fun to make it even better.
Wait.
This is why people hire me, because I'm such a good planner. And when I saw that, I was like, you can't just go to London. Like, you have to do X, Y, and Z as well too. So this is how lists work in my head. Like, I can't just pick one thing. I know. Sorry. But anyway, so my first duo of cities is London and Brighton. London, obviously, it's no surprise. It's number 1 on the Happy Cow list. It's number 1 I'd say mostly number one most of the time on my list. But Brighton is a city in the southern part of the UK. It's right on the sea. It's a gorgeous, cute town, diversity of all kinds of options, vegan markets, really cool shops. It's a super green forward and green thinking. It's easy to get to from London. It's about an hour, I think, on the train, and it's just super enjoyable. I always tell people that if you're overwhelmed by the options in London and overwhelmed by getting around in London and just overwhelmed in general by London, then you'll probably really love Brighton, because Brighton is a smaller version, in my book, of London. And I know you have so much to say because you think I'm sneaky.
Okay, first of all, you are basically listing 10 places, not 5. And we agreed on
I mean, it's
5,
a bundle
basically.
deal. This is what happens when you work with a planner. Like, you can't just have one.
So you're talking about countries, and I actually made a separate list of countries because I didn't
say countries. London and Brighton are cities, my friend. Maybe you should get a map out.
2 cities in the same country, madame.
Yeah,
2 cities in the same
bonus. I'm earning my worth.
All right. Well, it's your podcast. It's your baby. So let me just comment a little bit on your London selection. Well, one, I think you should have
Brighton selection. Thank you.
London and Brighton. Okay, I have not been to Brighton because I was not on that trip with you, but I can comment on London. And I will say that one of my favorite places in London is Borough Market. Yeah. There is so much great like street food in there. And I remember there's such a melding of cultures in London that when you go to Borough Market or you go to some of these places, you can find like some of the best Indian food that you're going to find east or west of India, I guess you would say. And I just remember having, you had a dosa and it was absolutely delicious there. And I had a pakora, and holy moly, the thing was so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is all very true. And what else I really like about London is that there are a handful of really cool, like very vegan friendly hotels, and some hotels doing some really cool things sustainably. So that also is kind of why I really like sending people there. And it's just a really, really cool city. There's a cool vegan shop. I think I can't remember exactly where it is in the city, but they sell cool shoes and clothing, which is great. In Brighton, there were some cool clothing shops. And then I mentioned the vegan market as well. There is one hotel on the water that is very vegan friendly. But there isn't a vegan hotel down there. There are a couple vegan B&Bs though in the South Coast.
How long did it take you to get from London to Brighton?
About an hour by the train.
So when you pick 2 cities, do you have like a distance or proximity that the 2 cities have to fall within to make it onto your list?
No, not necessarily. I mean, like, it can't take 8 years to get there or anything crazy. Like, it has to at least be a short flight, or ideally a short train ride would be great. It's just like something to think about. You got to give people a little bit to think about. Okay. So we're not here like forever. I'm going to keep going with my list. You'll have to just get over your unhappiness with me.
Carry on, lady.
My next is Tokyo and Osaka. I put them on here because, one, I was blown away by the amount of options and how many cool places there were to visit, and the fact that I thought that maybe I was going to get stuck with one kind of sushi and one type of like noodle ramen bowl, and that was going to be it. In Tokyo, like, my map looked like a Christmas card exploded all over it with the amount of places. We didn't even hardly scratch the surface, the amount of places that were there. And Osaka, similarly. Osaka was smaller, so it was a little easier to navigate, but there's still so many great places. And it was really cool because there was a ton of veganized Japanese stuff. So I didn't feel like I missed out on the Japanese experience. Like, we got to have, we got to go to an izakawa. We had
Okonomiyaki.
Gosh, that's a mouthful. And so many other like cool things. It wasn't just ramen. And, people were cool. It was neat. The history there, one kind of down point of it is just the hotel situation. Finding vegan friendly ones is a little bit more challenging, and getting hotels to like understand the whole vegan thing sometimes was a little challenging, but they all really tried pretty well. I will say sometimes better than some of the ones I've worked with in Europe. So I give them like a thumbs up for that too. And they're pretty accessible via the bullet train to get to both of them, even though they're in different parts of the country. So those two, really cool. I look forward to going back. My third is Bangkok and Chiang Mai. So from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, you would have to take a short flight. You can take an overnight train, which is an interesting experience in and of itself. And that's a whole nother podcast episode. I think everyone should do it once just for the entertaining aspect of it. But Bangkok is cool because one, it's mammoth. There's stuff spread out all over. It does feel a little overwhelming and a little more challenging sometimes, I think maybe at first, to navigate Bangkok and find everything. But once you do, and then like you talk to people and you find like other stuff that's a little bit more hidden, there were so many cool options in Bangkok. And it was so fresh, and there were so many different flavors, and there were so many different like fruits and vegetables and things that I hadn't had that made it like really cool. In Chiang Mai, there are 2 vegan B&Bs, which is really cool. We stayed at one of the vegan hotels there, and that was cool. It was like cool to come down for breakfast, and everything was vegan. And the food scene there is growing, and there are quite a few different vegan places and some really neat little places. Also in Bangkok, there is a hotel. It is not fully vegan, but super vegan friendly. And a couple other ones as well too that are doing some pretty good things. In Thailand, there is a little bit of a focus, I think, because of, people coming over and visitors, of wellness. And so that does play a little bit of influence, but also the cuisine, it heavily has quite a bit of fresh fruits and vegetables and things. And tofu is a big one. It's the same one in Japan. That helps make, things accessible or easily to be made vegan.
Did you feel like you really liked tofu skin after that trip? Because I don't think we ever had it, and then we tried it there.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, there were so many things that I really liked. Tofu skin, that was an interesting one. I didn't remember having that though in Bangkok. You might have had that. Maybe I didn't have tofu skin there. I think I had tofu skin in Korea. But it's an interesting thing if you get a chance to try it. We also had that interesting egg in Chiang Mai, which you had it. It was on a pasta, I think. And it was like it looked like an egg with a yolk. And that was super cool. That was the first time I saw that. That got everybody oohing and ahhing, like, what the heck?
But hands down, the best thing in Thailand, Bangkok, Chiang Mai, to me, was all the fresh fruit.
Yeah.
Like every
it was
fresh
so cheap
that you could imagine, we got to try there. Yeah, and it was so inexpensive.
Yeah, that was super nice. I think about passion fruit all the time now after that. It was terrific. I'd say, and it was really funny too, because, we ran a tour through Thailand, a vegan tour. And one of the things that one of the people said, she was like, maybe I ate too much was my only negative point on this, because there was just so much, and there was so much to try and so much you didn't want to miss out on. So it's just like, it was a great, really, really great experience.
But you can define the success of a trip when someone comments, I ate too much.
Hey there, fantastic listeners. Let's hit pause on this episode for a thrilling announcement, a golden ticket to Globetrot with Veggies Abroad. Veggies Abroad isn't just your go-to for vegan guides and trip planning tips. It's your passport to extraordinary small group journeys, carefully crafted by the ultimate veggie pusher and your favorite podcast host, me, Rebecca Gady-Sawicki. I've spent countless hours researching the best vegan hotels, food, and experiences, and now I'm bringing those experiences directly to you. Join me and my newfound veggie pals on escapades to exciting and exotic destinations around the world. Whether it's trekking through the Thai jungle to witness elephants in their natural habitat or staying at a carbon-neutral camp in Kenya during the Great Migration, our adventures are nothing short of spectacular. And guess what? Those aren't the only exciting trips awaiting you. So what are you waiting for? Cruise on over to veggiesabroad.com pronto. Well, how about after this episode is over to explore our dazzling lineup of 2024 trips and secure your spot on your next vegan adventure today. Yeah. Actually, as a side note to that, on our last trip too, there were multiple times when I was like, hey, what do you guys want to do for dinner? Like, are you feeling like it? And people were like, I think I don't need to eat till tomorrow. I shouldn't eat anymore. And I even said at one point, I was like, I think I should eat air. Air should be what I should have for dinner. I should not eat anymore. Okay, so now we're moving into 4. And now these two are a little bit further away from each other, but you could do it as one or you could do them separately, is Toronto and Vancouver. I adore Toronto. I would move there. Well, I really would love to move there, but their situation with the weather is not great. It's like our situation here, maybe a tiny bit chillier. The city is fantastic. There are so many cool options. And like so many other cities like London, it has a diversity of options because it has a diverse population. So you can try Egyptian food, you can have Chinese food, you can have Thai, you can have fine dining. I had a really fantastic mole at this Osakan inspired Mexican restaurant called La Bartola. Just really, really fantastic stuff. There's a cool vegan market that's been there a really long time. I think it's called Rebel Market. There are other like natural food stores that have tons of vegan stuff. There used to be some shops, like actual clothing shops, but they've unfortunately closed. Vegandale started in Toronto, which is a giant festival. There are other big vegan events, Planted Expo and VegTO that happen in Toronto, which is really great.
Do not sleep on the vegan donuts in Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Bloomers. There are multiple places that have great donuts. Bloomers is one. Oh, no. Is it Bloomers? Yes. Bloomers is one. And then Machino is another one. It's in Koreatown. Really great. Really, really just epically fantastic. And then Vancouver is very similarly, really diverse population. So diverse food, really great options, better weather than Toronto. You can also get out of the city and get into the mountains a little bit, which is really gorgeous. So it's just a fantastic experience. I ate a ton in Vancouver. I had extra time there. So I really got to kind of go wild with that and enjoyed every minute of it. And there are some interesting hotels there as well, too. There's one that's a nonprofit. It's a YMCA nonprofit. Food isn't really the focus for that one, but it's neat that they're supporting that organization. There's also a focus more on Aboriginal history in Vancouver, and there's a cool hotel that supports Indigenous people in art. And so I think most of the profits for that go back into the community to support those folks. It's a social enterprise as well. So there's some really cool things also going on in the cities. And so then my last one, I had struggled with this one a little bit, and I feel like this is going to be a game time decision because I really wanted to put New York City on the list. I love New York City. I will always have a heart there. But then I also love the combination of Berlin and Hamburg. So I feel like I'm going to say New York City.
Wow.
I know. That was tough. But one, I haven't highlighted anyone here in the US. And two, I can't do that to New York City. New York City has a breadth of all kinds of different options that have changed all over the years. Just like many of the other places, there are all kinds of things that you can find from, donuts to fine dining and everything in between, fast food. It's just a cool place. I have been to New York City many times, and I still find places that are brand new to me or places I still haven't been able to get to. There isn't in the city. There are a couple places that are vegan friendly, like on the hotel side of things, but there crazily is not a vegan hotel yet in New York City. Some point that somebody's got to change that, but there are some cool shops. There is a cool Jewish inspired delicatessen in I think it's at East Village. No, not East Village, a little bit south of there. It's called Orchard Grocer. Next to that, they have a clothing shop called Moo Shoes. So obviously they're shoes, but they also have some fashion stuff. But then there are some high-end stores like Stella McCartney. All of her stuff is vegan. And so you could get like a handbag and do some other shopping. And there's some cool like cosmetics and like spa type places. So New York City is like got it all. It's literally the city that never sleeps and never stops eating, I think is a good way to put it. Now I'm going to move it over to you.
All right. I'm doing mine a little bit differently.
Oh, you're not gonna give people a little extra there with the bonus of 2.
I am not that cool, and you're way better at planning, clearly.
Oh, I was gonna say, wait, I want to add this last little tidbit. If you do New York City and you want to get out of the city, you could add the Finger Lakes region to it. It is a bit of a car ride. Oh, God, how long would it take you? Maybe 5 hours, I think, to get up there. But once you get up there, there's a great vegan B&B called Black Sheep Inn, fantastic. But there's also the Farm Sanctuary, and they have accommodations there too. So you could have a really cool vegan experience. You could stay at the Black Sheep Inn. Then you could go to the Farm Sanctuary and do a tour and visit, which would be neat. And then Glen Watkins is kind of like the little central town that's there. And because of Farm Sanctuaries advocating, they do have some decent options on the vegan side of things. And then there are wineries that are vegan friendly as well too. So you could do a little wine tasting, say hi to the animals, relax. And then at the Black Sheep Inn, they make the couple that owns it is from the UK. And so they do great like English inspired breakfast. She makes, I think, what else did we have? French toast, all kinds of other things. So that would be a really great experience. That's definitely something you'd want to do in the summer. I wouldn't do that in the winter. I
would say too that Cornell is in Ithaca, correct?
Oh, Ithaca is another good one that has some good options. Moosewood, if anybody knows the cookbook, they have a restaurant there, and that's vegetarian.
And because it's a college town, I just remember we went to this little like bagel/sandwich place.
Oh yeah.
And I had like one of the best bagel sandwiches I've had in a long time. It was so good. I really liked it. So my criteria is a little bit different than yours. Number one, I'm going to count from 5 to 1 and go that way.
I will say though, okay, one note on mine. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, but I didn't necessarily rank them.
Oh, I ranked.
Okay, so there's a difference. You're ranking. Let's go with your number 5.
How are you going to do a list and not rank?
I don't know. I didn't think about that until you just now said it.
Okay, so my criteria was a little bit different than yours. Like I did it based on the vegan food that I've had.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just mix in like maybe a little bit of some sites and things
very
that are fun to do. Very
data-centric here.
It's a little bit different. So that's going to make my list somewhat different than yours. But we probably have some similarities. But let me just come in with number 5 on my list, which is probably going to be shocking to you. But because of the food, number 5 is Austin, Texas.
Oh, I'm not surprised. That is a good one.
Oh my gosh, I loved Austin, Texas. There was a food truck pizza I had there from a place called Little Nana's, and they did this thing called beateroni. And I got to tell you, that beateroni pizza was absolutely delicious. And I don't know what kind of magic they've got going on back there in that food truck, but it was one of the best dang pizzas I've ever had. Then we also had burrito tacos at a place called Nisi's. And oh my God, I came home and tried to make burrito tacos.
It was
and
an epic fail.
I fashioned myself a decent cook, but I tried to do that and it was epic failure. And then I had a breakfast sandwich. People, you can check the website. You can check Veggies Abroad for this breakfast sandwich that I had from Rebel Cheese. It was like homemade cheese, like a homemade croissant, some like homemade bacon, all cooked to perfection. It was so delicious. The picture of it is on veggiesabroad.com. Go and check it out. That's my number 5.
Okay, Austin is a good one. Austin does have. I was really surprised by the amount of options in Austin. We were there for a good amount of time too, and I don't think we made it through everything. And I was not disappointed by anything. And I still think about those burrito tacos. They, hands down, terrific.
I wanted to go back there just to try some other things, but we just didn't have the time. And there were so many places to go there.
Yeah.
Like the diversity of food, even though it was all like, it was kind of like, Tex-Mex kind of inspired
Not
food.
all of it. There was a diversity of stuff. There are some fine dining places that, actually one fine dining place that recently opened in Austin as well too, and some other things. I think we gravitated towards some of the other stuff.
That's probably partly my fault. It's just because I gravitate towards some of that.
That's true, yes.
And then the only thing that I would say to people that want to go to Austin, Texas, is it is hotter than an MFR down there. It is hot down there.
Yeah, avoid it at all costs. I'd say May through September, probably.
Unless you want to put up with the heat. Some people might like that heat.
I don't think you possibly can. Like they didn't even, one of the tours that we did, the walking tour, they don't even run it during the summer because it's so hot. It's just like you can't spend any time outside.
Right.
It's miserable.
The next hot spot coming in my list is number 4, Tokyo, Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, ramen. I do enjoy some ramen. And when you're going to Tokyo, that's where you want to eat some ramen. Every place that we had some ramen there was delicious. And then there's also so many things to see and do, from like vending machines galore to all these photo booths, and the people were so nice, and the transportation is so great, and you can get around everywhere so easy. And Tokyo is just another world experience. I never thought I wanted to go there just because I thought it'd be so massively crowded, but it's spread out so well. There's so many things to see and do, and you don't ever feel suffocated, like you're suffocating there from too many people. Yeah. So that's my number 4. Number 3 on my list is Berlin, Germany, Deutschland, my people. There is a place there called Bramable's Donuts. I got to tell you, like,
I think this is the second time you've brought up donuts in less than 40 minutes.
Okay, don't hate. All right. I like a donut. And I like a Bramable's donut. They have all these different types of flavors. There's so many different ones to choose from.
It was like Homer Simpson's dream.
There's also, I think the Germans have cornered the market on like baked goods, because there's also a place called Freya Bakery there, and the baked goods coming out of that place, they have like flaky, delicious croissants and like these wonderful loaves of bread. It's just, you just want to go in there and just take a deep breath and just enjoy it all. It's so great. And then I also really like history and learning about World War II and seeing the different sites from World War II, and then the Berlin Wall and the history behind that. It's really moving, but it's also incredibly interesting. Mm-hmm. They're such a great people, the Germans, and they've overcome so much. And they've also just kind of grown. And that's not a very old country too, which people, I don't know if they realize it, but I think the United States is much older than Germany. But anyway.
Yeah, it's a cool city. Lots and lots. It's and I think Berliners will share this with you as well too. Berlin is unlike other parts of Germany as far as the vegan friendliness. It's a very forward thinking, very green. very unique city, lots and lots of cool options, so much to do. You could honestly spend a week there and not get bored. And then also, if you do go to Berlin, then hop on the train and go to Hamburg, because in the north, it's also a really cool city. Also great, great options, and not as large as Berlin.
So number 3 on my list is back to the United States, New York, New York. You love New York. I also love New York as equally as much as you do. Although you probably have a little bit more of a heart for it because you did live there for a little while you were in college. So you have like a firsthand love for it. But they have a place called Modern Love. I'm sure many people that are listening here have heard of that place. They have giant, juicy burgers and crispy, delicious fries there. And that's one of my favorite meals. And they have some great stuff at Modern Love. And they also have a place that's in Brooklyn. It's called Screamer's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
And man, is that Screamer's Pizza good. So is it as good as the Beateroni Pizza in Austin, Texas?
That's tough.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's probably better.
I mean, it's New York. You can't beat the pizza.
You can't beat the pizza in New York. Yeah, it's like a New York slice. You just fold it up and you take a big bite. It's so delicious. I love New York, people. And then there's a place there called Ya Ya Ya's. Remember Ya Ya Ya? Great tacos, great nachos.
Oh.
And then they have Aaron McKenna's Bakery. Then they have the Orchard Grocery, which you talked about earlier. And then you get to see all these great sites too. Think about that. Like the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island and all the history and struggle of people coming to this country. And just the joys of the New York subway.
Oh, yeah. The joys of getting around in New York City. It's like such a fun experience. I feel like if you've never been to New York City or never spent significant time, like you like need to carve out time and you need to just like sit and watch, and it's enjoyable. It is super fun. It's an experience in and of itself, just like the city atmosphere of it too. And definitely visit Ellis Island. That is a great, great, great tour. And I think people need to be reminded of that, especially now.
Are you ready for my number 1 on my list?
Yeah, because I'm kind of surprised now. I'm not sure what you're going to pick.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 1 on my list of 5 greatest cities for vegan food is Los Angeles, California. Oh my gosh, They have the vegan street fair there.
Yeah.
And there's food trucks galore, and they were all out of this world. Everything I tried there. And then they have Crossroads Kitchen where you can sit down and you can like people watch. Sometimes you're going to see some famous people probably, like that kind of thing. And then they've got Gracias Madre, which is just some dang tasty, delicious, like knock your socks off kind of food. And then Monty's Good Burger, like if you're in the mood for some real good junk food, you go over to Monty's Good Burger and you get like a double patty on there. Oh,
I think Monty's closed.
No, it's still open.
Are you sure?
They're still there.
A couple burger places did close, unfortunately, recently. I hope it wasn't Monty's.
It might have been like Mr. Charlie's.
No, Mr. Charlie's, I think, is still going strong. Mr. Charlie's is a spinoff, as a spoof on McDonald's.
You're crushing me if Monty's Good Burger closed.
I hope not. I can look really quick.
Oh, this is going to break my heart. Still won't take Los Angeles off my number 1 on my list because there's so many other good things. Chaumont Vegan. Do you remember going there? Chaumont?
Oh, Chaumont.
Come on.
I feel like you should have practiced. Okay, Monty's does still have a couple locations that are open, so you're safe with that. And Chaumont, the French will hate you.
I thought I said it right, Chaumont.
And that's not what you said the first time.
Chaumont Vegan.
Yeah, a really beautiful French bakery.
Aren't they connected to like an Omni bakery, and they have a vegan part of it though?
Yeah, they have 2 doors, so pick the correct one. It does say Chaumont Vegan over the top, and then they have like a regular one as well.
People, some of the best vegan croissant you will ever have. And then, I mean, how can you not love Los Angeles, California when they have sun, beaches, mountains, fashion, trendy spots, Hollywood actors? There's so many cool things to see, like cool cars, and there's like Rodeo Drive. Like there's so many great things there. I really love
I
Los
don't remember you
Angeles.
loving Rodeo Drive.
I didn't, but some
So you just
people
feel like
really
you
might
have to
like
throw it
that.
out there?
Yeah. Okay. So that's my number one. But real quick, I just want to give you some of my honorable mentions. I'm giving an honorable mention to Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
A shout out for the donut scene. A shout out to Bangkok, Thailand. Love it there. London, England, which I really wanted to put that on my list, but then I couldn't do it. And then San Francisco. San Francisco has some really great food over there.
What's a
And
surprise?
then
Okay.
Barcelona, Spain, because we barely mentioned Barcelona, and Barcelona is a great place for food. So
Yeah, that is very
that's
true.
my list.
Good.
And
Okay.
one other thing I've got to say too is I did just want to run off my top 5 countries to visit.
Okay.
Number 5 is Switzerland. There's so many great places to go in Switzerland for food and scene. Like, it's just a different.
I mean,
kind
it's
of vibe.
beautiful, yeah, but like I don't think it's like a full-on foodie experience.
Number 4 is the United States. I won't even go into
The
why.
United States, like that's a hard thing to throw out there as a country. We're too big to qualify as like go to the US.
Let's take that off and put Poland on there because Poland was awesome. I really liked Poland.
Oh, it's really a good thing that you don't do any of the travel planning for any of this because you're just like wildly throwing out massive countries.
Number 3 was Japan. Number 2 is Thailand. And number 1 is England.
Okay. It's good that you slimmed down to the island size. I think that's far more manageable when we're talking about like qualifying an entire place.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we're going to definitely take the U.S. off of that. All right. Any final vegan-friendly thoughts for 2025?
Yeah, I want to know where you are going in 2025. Where do you really want to go outside of your awesome tours?
Oh, man, everybody loves asking me this question, and I wish I could say that I'm 100% finalized with what my travel plans will be like for this year, but I'm not. I'm still working on some things. My first trip, actually, out of this house will be to Greensboro, North Carolina, to visit my lovely family. Then after that, there are some things I have that are up in the air that I'm waiting to hear about. And then I've got the Iceland trip in May. In August, I may have some conference travel. Same with September. And then October, our Portugal tour. And then November and December, Thailand tours. And I'll also be making a visit to Vietnam and Cambodia at that same time. But more to come. I unfortunately have to live on the edge of planning sometimes while I work around everybody else.
This year, I will be running a marathon in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, and you're also doing it like in the winter, aren't you? You chose some silly ass time.
It is in November, and I didn't choose it. That's the date that the race is. But it's actually, I'm sorry, it's not a marathon. This year, it's a 50K we're doing.
You're crazy.
And then I am hoping to go with you to Vietnam and Cambodia. Maybe that gets me to Ho Chi Minh City because that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be.
A couple other places that I really would like to go. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to them this year, but I want to go back to LA because I love LA. Mm-hmm. It's my number 1 on my list. I want to go to Mexico City and just kind of spend some time and eat through the town because I think there's a diverse culture and diverse food there. And if anybody who knows me, they know that I just really love people. And I would like to experience the culture and the people there in Mexico City. And then another place I'd really like to go to is Peru. We haven't made it to South America really yet. And I'd really like to get down there. I'd like to hike the Inca Trail. I don't know if that's in the cards this year. Clearly, it probably isn't. But I would really like to get down there and visit Peru and maybe take a swing over to the Galapagos and check that out. But that sounds like a great trip. But yeah, that's my list.
That would be a great trip. All right. I don't have any other final thoughts with any of these cities. Well, actually, my final thought, I will say, is that the vast majority, actually all of them that we've talked about, if you are considering visiting any of them, you will find information on our website about all of them. You don't have to dig through the guides if you don't want to. You can just search for the city like NYC or Los Angeles or let's say Bangkok or whatever, and they'll pop up guides and articles about visiting ethical elephant sanctuaries or best donut spots in New York City, since donuts seem to be a real theme here. So don't feel like you have to start over from zero with any of your planning. And the same goes as you're planning any travels for the rest of this year. If you're looking for inspiration for vegan-friendly places in the Caribbean or vegan-friendly resorts in Mexico, or let's see, vegan hotels in Europe. You'll find all of that and even more on the website as well too. So I encourage you definitely to check that out before you go off on your planning tangents. And of course, if I can help with any of that, always feel free to reach out. But thanks,
And
Matt.
also, people, please like and subscribe to the podcast. If you like the content that you're hearing today, we would love to hear your comments. Please let us know how things are going.
We would love to hear your comments. Are you going to hear these comments? No, you're not.
Yeah, listen to the comments too.
Because
maybe we do a comment show.
Now
maybe
Matt
we
is just
answer
lying.
questions.
Matt is not going to listen to your comments. The comment will come to Jim and then it will come to me, and that's where the buck will stop. So if you would like to send Matt a comment, please make sure that you say that this is directed for Matt, and I will make sure that it gets it to him. And maybe give him some constructive feedback with his podcasting skills.
So Rebecca, congratulations again. This was your 30th show. You've been doing this for a year.
I think you're doing
a great job. You are still standing. I love you and I respect you, and keep up the good work.
Well, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. If you'd also like to learn more about upcoming Veggies Abroad tours or get additional travel help, visit veggiesabroad.com and also join our newsletter. It's the best way to stay up to date with loads of new content, like where to find gorgeous vegan hotels, what to eat in cities around the world, trip planning tips, and so much more. Well, that's all I've got for now. Until next time.